So, welcome back everyone. Today we'll be doing our set 42 from May-June 2021. So without further ado, let's get started with our first question here. So the question goes by a liters of 2.5 liters of paint costs $13.50. In a sale, the cost is reduced by 14%. So find the sales price of this paint. So what you're required to do is first identify how much balance is left after the reduction. So it's approximately 86%. So take the $13.50 that you have, multiply with 86%, then you will get your final price here. So it's approximately 11.61. So work out the cost of buying 42.5 liters of paint at this sales price. So things to take note is that with the current 11.61, you are now required to identify the cost of buying 42.5 liters of paint. So first thing first that I'm gonna do is to check how many tin of 2.5 liters paint do I need. So I need 17 of them actually. Okay, through the calculation, and then multiply this price with 1161. Then you will get your final results as 197.37. So that's how you find the cost of buying 42.5 liters of paint. And we buy the same paint in the ratio of red paint, white paint, and green paint. Find the percentage of the paint that is white. So to find the percentage, first you need the total ratio here. That is by taking 2 plus 8 plus 5. You should get 15 for it. So for white paint, it is 8 out of 15 over there, and then multiply it by 100. You should be getting your results as 53.3. Okay. So for part 2, they were asking about Henry buys a total of 22.5 liters of paint. Find the numbers of liters of green paint that he buys. So in terms of liters, so instead of multiplying it with 100, okay, the green paint ratio is actually 5 over 15, and then multiply it with 22.5. Then you should be able to get your answer here. So it's approximately 7.5 liters then. Maria paint a rectangle wall. The length of the wall is 20.5 meters and the height is 2.4. Both corrected to 1 decimal place. Okay. So 1 liters of paints cover an area of exactly 10 meters square. Calculate the smallest amount of 2.5 liters tin of paint she will need to make sure the wall is completely painted. Okay, so to calculate this, I need to check the rounding value first. Since they are both corrected to 1 decimal place, so the rounding value here should be 0.1 divided by 2. You should be getting it as 0.05. The next thing that I will focus on is actually they mentioned that the smallest numbers of 2.5 liters of paint that she will need to make sure the wall is painted. Because of this keyword that they use, smallest number, if I were to sit for the exam, I will actually find the lower bound of the area of the wall. Okay, so that I paint lesser. So the paint that I need to use will be lesser because of this arrangement here. So this is what I would do. I will be taking our 20.5 minus 0.05 multiplied with 2.4 minus 0.05, okay, and then divide it with the area, okay, which is 10 meters square, okay, and lastly divide it with 2.5 liters, because that's how you trace how many tins do you need. So after the calculation, you will get it as 9.223, which is approximately 2 tins. So I just checked the marking scheme, and they say instead of minusing the rounding value, they added it instead. So the reason why I think that the solution that I attached is actually the correct one, because the keyword they wanted was smallest number. If my numerator is actually bigger, like the area here of the actual wall is bigger, the paint that I need to use to paint the wall is actually more. So I think that the marking scheme here is actually having an issue. Okay. So if they were to say the largest numbers of 2.5 liters of paint that she will need, then instead of minus here, I would change it into plus. Okay, and then you will get 2.0139, which then only you round it up to 3 tins, like what was written there. So in this case, I think that the correct answer should be 2, but if you have your own point of view, feel free to share in the comment section and we can discuss further from there. So for me, I will be minusing instead of adding it up, okay, because the overall logic doesn't make sense if you were to follow the marking scheme here. Moving on to question 2, you're required to substitute the x given and to find the y's value. So this is how it works. So after calculating it, you will get 1. And for the other one, it will be negative 0.5. So it's time to fill up the graph. So I will fast forward a little bit here. So these are the points that I will plot down, and I will proceed with the lines drawing now. So this is the lines that I will be drawing. So by drawing a suitable line, solve the equation where it is equals to 0. Okay, so the entire thing, you need to make some adjustment first. So 2 times 0.5 to the power of x, this one is already correct, matches off with the original equation. Then you will notice that there's an excess of 2x here. So you need to get rid of it first. So by transferring it to the other side, you have a negative 2x. Okay. Then they originally wanted a negative 1 only, which means there's an excess of negative 2.5 that you need to get rid of. So you would put it to the other side and making it plus 2.5. So your new equation is actually y equals to negative 2x plus 2.5. Okay, this 2.5 here is actually your intersection, your y-intercept. So it's somewhere around here actually. So all you need is to trace one more results here. So for example, when my y is 0, you will get your x as 1.25. So this 1.25 is actually somewhere around here. So connecting these two dots here together, so for me, the answer that will fill up will be 1.35 as my answer. Okay, each small box there is actually 0.5. Kindly take note on this, then you should be able to identify your answer here. Moving on to part C, they say that there's no solution when it is equals to k. K is an integer. Find the highest possible value of k is. So let's have a look at the graph. Okay. There is no solution that they mention here. So what's the highest possible value? So as you can see, they gave us an inequality range here where it goes by x is from -1 until 2. So within this range, your y results is actually around 3 over here, all the way down to -0.5. So since anything above that will have results already, the highest possible value of k is -1. The equation of the asymptote to the graph y equals to 2 times 0.5 to the power of x minus 1 is y equals to -1. So I will attach a picture here in the screen, okay, to show you how the asymptote looks like, and also to be exact, if you were to sketch out the entire graph, it will actually look something like this. Okay, so this is the reason why your answer is actually y equals to -1. So overall, it's quite tricky because this is actually the first time seeing them testing you on this. Okay, but I've gone through the rest of the question. They are identical from this point onwards. So if you were to get stuck, the trap will be in question 2 only. Question 3a, because of the base being the same, if they are being multiplied, just add them up and you will get your final results here. If it's just divide, then it becomes minus. Okay. Part 3 is actually a trap question because they wanted to test you whether you convert it into 7 to the power of 2 or not. As for the next one, the main key thing here is actually the power of 3. Kindly remember that it will be applied to everyone inside the brackets. So 5 to the power of 3 is actually 125. 2 to the power of 3 is actually 8. Okay, remember the power and power when they interact, it's actually multiplication. So calculate these two together. So you actually get 1000 x9 y12. So that's how you get to your final answer. As for part C, they're looking for HCF here, and to make your calculation easier, okay, if I were you, I would convert the Q over there into prime factors first. So it will be written as 2 to the power of 2 times 3 to the power of 3 times 5. So the HCF is basically analyzing the smallest power here. So it will be 2 to the power of 2 times 3 to the power of 3. Okay, those that's not repeating will not be considered. Those who was repeating, only take the smaller power one. That's why your answer is 108 here. As for LCM, it's just the same thing, but in a different way. Everything that is not repeating will be included, and the power will be the highest here. So your final answer will be 30,240. As for the next one, PR is a cube where R is an integer. Find the smallest possible of R here. So for P itself, we have 2 to the power of 5, 3 to the power of 3, and 7 to the power of 1. So to make it into cube number, all the power section must be a factor of 3. So clearly, this 2 here, you need to add 1 more to it to make it 6. Okay, and then for the 7 there, you need to make it power of 2. So to get to your final answer, your R is actually 2 times 7 squared, which is 98 here. Okay, remember, for cube number, the keyword here is in the power section. You need to consider that what's the smallest numbers that you can put in, okay, to fulfill and make it to R. So there's actually a similar question came out in the past year back then. It's a recent question as well. Feel free to try it out, practice more, then you'll get used to it. For section D here, factorize this completely, very easy. Just substitute into your calculator, then you should be getting your answers without any issue. Okay, this should be the results. As for the next one, as you can see, this A plus 2B is actually repeating. So if you were to take it out from both of them, the 7 part we actually have left with A plus 2B, while the 4A will have nothing left paired with it. So this is how it looks like. Further rearrange it, 7A plus 4A become 11A plus 14B. So this is your final answer for this particular question here. Moving on, find an expression for y in terms of x. Okay, I will try to change everything into power of 3 first. And then bring up the denominator there and make it into 3 to the power of negative 2x. So all this power here, arrange them together. So last but not least, finish it up. So your y's result should be 5x minus 1 over 2. So this is how you get this E part done. Moving on, we have a statistics question. Here they are testing us on frequency density. So since they gave us the details already, I will try to double check whether there's a skill factors involvement or not. So taking the first one as example, frequency density is actually by taking frequency divided with its class interval. So minus this off, you will get your answers as 8. So if they matches up, means that there's nothing for you to change here. So just proceed with your calculation and draw out the rest will do. So I will start with the 2 to 4 part here. We have 15 divided with 2. We should be getting 7.5 here. Okay, so this is how 7.5 looks like, and the other one is actually 10 over 3. That's approximately 3.33. Then lastly, we have 4 divided with 5. That's your 0.8, which will look something like this. So this is how you get to your final answer. So to find the mean, you're required to first trace the midpoint and multiply with the frequency. Okay, ultimately divided it with 40 because there's a total of 40 parcels. Okay, this 0.5 is actually a midpoint of here. So 1 plus 2 divided with 2, it should be 1.5. Repeat the same thing for the rest. Okay, calculate this, then you should get your mean. So it should be 303 over 80, which is approximately 3.7875, or if you were to round it to 3 significant figures, you can write it as 3.79. Okay, so random parcel is picked from the 40 parcel. Find the probability that it has a mass of 2 kg or less. So let's check from the top here. 2 kg or less, there's a total of 11 of them. So the correct answer should be 11 over 40 here. That's how you get the results for A part 3. Moving on to part 4, 2 parcels choose at random without replacement. So the keyword here is without replacement. So I know that it will be 40 and 39 for sure for the first and the second draw. Okay, this is chosen from those who has a mass greater than 21. So if it's greater than 21, then this is not from the entire set, so it can't be written as 40 and 39. So based on this, I actually know that it's only 29 and 28 respectively. So how do I get this? It's actually by taking 40 minus the 11 for mass lesser than 2 kg. So with that, work out that one of them has a mass greater than 7 kg and the other one has a mass of 4 kg or less. So let's say the 7 kg one first. So that is actually 4 here, followed by 4 kg or lesser, that will be 50. Okay, this is just a scenario 1, and please remember you still have to add up with, let's say it is the 4 kg or less first, followed by 28. So you should get your answers as 30 over 203. Moving on to part B, they were asking you about a box and whisker diagram. The median here is actually this line at the center. So that is actually somewhere around 4.6. For interquartile range, you'll be taking these two minus of each other. So the value should be 6.2 minus with 3 itself. So the final answer should be just 3.2. Two parcels are removed from the van at the first delivery. The masses of this parcel is 2.4 kg and 5.8. Describe the effect on removing this parcel has on the median of the remaining parcel. So by removing one of them, okay, the 2.4 here, the median should remain the same because one was taken out somewhere around here again, and the other one is somewhere around here. So one from each side of the median, so the median shouldn't be affected. So this should be the final answer. Moving on, question 5, a simple vector question here. So b minus a means you write this down. Minus -3 and 8. So the final results that you're getting should be 2 plus 3, -5, -8, which will result in 5 and -13. Moving on, we have 2a plus b. So for here, you will get it as -6 and 16 plus 2 and -5. So from here, you will have a balance of -4 and 11. Okay, as for part B, there they are looking for your Pythagoras theorem. So just get your 2 squared plus -5 squared. So your final answer of this should square root 29 or approximately 5.39. After rounding it to 3 significant figures. Okay, going on to part B here. Okay, they were asking that if, let's say, our A, which is -38, plus a KB here, you will get it as 13m. So to find K, I will be focusing on the top part here, which I construct the equation. It goes by -3 plus 2k equals to 13. So you got your 2k equals to 16. K should be 8 based on this. So on the other side, it will be 8 plus -5k equals to m. 8 plus -5 times 8 equals to m. So you got -40 plus 8 to this, you will get it as -32 equals to your m here. So that's how you trace your k and m's value. Okay, for part B is the actual standard vector question. So the first thing that they were looking for is actually OB, but as usual, I won't be doing any of those first. Instead, I will focus on this ratio that they're given to us. Okay, and also one more thing. Kindly take note that because this is a parallelogram, the top part will be P and the entire AB will be Q as well. So this is the context that you need to know in a parallelogram settings. So the next thing that I'm going to adjust will be your AB here is actually 5. Okay, so for your AN, it will actually be 3 out of 5 of the entire AB, while NB will be 2 out of 5 of the entire AB there. So to get to OB, we can now proceed with our calculation. Okay, OB, it can go through OC and then CB. That's why the answers will go by Q plus P. Okay, as for the next one, they were asking for CM. So our C will actually go through CO first, then OM. So like what the question said, OM, M is actually midpoint of OB here, which means my CO is negative Q adding up with half of OB. So the results of this, you will get it as, so you will get 1 over 2P minus 1 over 2Q. So it's up to you whether you want to rearrange it or not. Okay, this would be the final results that I'm writing down. Moving on, we have MN here. So use a different color so that it's easier to see. So they were asking for MN, which means I will go through MB plus BN then, okay? But there's a little bit of risk here because the direction is different. So if you miss out on the negative sign, you will screw up the entire question. So in order to avoid that, your MB is actually half of OB. Okay. And then BN will be a negative of our 2 over 5 AB here. Okay, so let's calculate our results. From here, you're going to key into your calculator and check. So 1 over 2 have Q plus P here, minus 2 over 5Q. So 1 over 2 is actually 0.5 minus 0.4. So you get it as 1 over 10Q plus 1 over 2P. That will be your final answer. For the next one, they say that CB and ON are extended to meet at D. Find the position vector of D in terms of PQ. So CB and ON are extended. So what they were saying is that you have a lines over here and there's a connection here where they join up and make it. So the point that they connected will be the D that we are looking for here. So this is the D. So to get to there, I will first need to know my ON value first. ON is actually OA plus AN. So for this, you will know that your OA is actually P, while your AN is actually 3 over 5 of Q. So since that they are on a straight line, if you were to get the answers first, you need to know that OD is actually scale factor of N. Okay. But OD here, we only know one of the value, which is, you can get it by going through OC and then CD. Okay, so your OC is actually 1 Q, and then we have a CD that is something related to P. Yep. So with this value, we can now try to trace it out. So you need to know like what should you multiply to the Q to make it to 1, because this part here is 1. So your 3/5 by taking 1 divided by it. Okay, the scale factor over 5 unknown equals to 1 unknown 5/3. So with this 5/3 here, you can then multiply it in. Okay, that's how you know that the P here is actually 5/3. So since they're looking for D, your final answer should be Q plus 5/3 P, or the other way around, 5/3 P plus Q, up to you. So this is how I trace it. Okay, there's basically 2 things that you need to do. First is to identify the ON, then from there you need to find alternative way to get to OD. Okay, that's why I wrote another OC plus CD there. So with this, I gotten a common value, which is our Q here, so that I know that 3/5 is compared to 1. So with this limited information, you'll be able to trace what's the scale factor involved here. Moving on to question C, they were asking for BD's length. So to get to this, just use cosine rule from the triangles on the side, the ABD part. Then you should be able to get your answers. Okay, then that's how you trace that it was 16.9. So with this, you're required to calculate CBD next. Okay, so since that you already have the degree here, you have the distance here, this is 16.9. You can actually check this part first, okay, using your sine rule. Then only you take 180 degree minus off all the balance there to find your final answer. So I'll be writing down the results as sine unknown over 16.9 equals to sine 75 equals to 32. So my unknown here is actually sine inverse of sine 75 times 16.9 divided by 32. So sine inverse sine 75 times 16.9 and the 32 there. So make sure you close the bracket properly, okay, especially when keying in the 75 there. Although I didn't write it down here, but you must know when you key in the calculator, there's an invisible bracket there that you need to add in. So the results of this is actually 30.67 first. So to calculate CBD, you have to take 180 minus 75 minus 30.67. So your final answer of this should be 74.33, which when you make it into 1 decimals, it will be 74.3 degrees. So that's how you trace this. Then moving on, find the shortest distance of B to AD. So for this, they wanted B to AD, which means you are drawing a straight line here with this. So based on this calculation, B to AD, right, double confirm. So I'll be focusing on these triangles on the side. So the star is actually here. We have 16, we have 57. So this will be our opposite, and this will be our hypotenuse. So from here, you use sine 57 equals to unknown that we are looking for over 16. So by taking sine 57 times your 16, then you get your answers basically. Okay, the answer should be 13.4 after correcting it to 3 significant figures. So that's how you get the shortest distance from B to AD. So moving on to the next part, our question 7 here. They wanted a translation with a vector of 2, -1. However, there's a trap here. If you look closely to the gap of the numbers there, okay, you will notice that by shifting 2 steps is not enough. Okay, you need to shift it 1 step, 2 step, because this is how the vectors goes. And then it must be shifted downwards by 1 step, but it will be 2 boxes here. So when you draw out the results, it will look something like this. So this will be our T image here. Moving on to the next one, they wanted a rotation of 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. So they were referring to this, so that there's clearly a rectangle here, which I know that the results here is 90 degrees, and then it's 5 steps to going down by 4, and then this will be your final results here. Hold on, let me count the gaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's slight adjustment needed here. Extend the line longer. 4 steps down, that's correct. And this will be your final answer. Then lastly, triangle T of an enlargement, scale factor of -1/2 at a center of -2, 3. So -2, 3 is actually here. Okay, and then they wanted it to have an enlargement. Okay, notice the negative there, which means your image will be inverted and shrunken by half. Okay, this is the line that I will be drawing down as a guide. So 6 will becomes 3. That's why it's over here as our final answer. Okay, and then the other one will be somewhere around here. So just 2 steps away, like this. And then joining these 2 up. That will be your final answer. Okay, so inverted and shrunken by half, and on the other side. Describe fully a single transformation of T to A here. So T to A is, okay, it's actually not as hard as we think, but you need to know that there's actually a reflection line somewhere around here. Okay, that's how you reflect T to A. Okay, by counting the gaps here, you can check 1.5. So that's how you get the results here. So if you were to write the details, it will be Moving on to question 8, we have W, L, and 1 to 2. Okay, so with this limited information, they ask us to trace the value here. So kindly take note that this part would actually be H here. Find the value of L, W, and H. So you need to know that W is here, H is here, H is here. So 2H plus W equals to 20.1. On the other hand, so kindly take note, because they are cuboid, this part is actually H, 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 H. So you actually have another one which goes by 2L plus 2H equals to 37.8. So with this, you can actually proceed with your calculation. If you were to eliminate them, so let's say this is your 1, this is your 2. Okay, and then I say 2 minus by 1, you will get your results as 2L plus 2H minus 2H plus W equals to 37.8 minus 20.1 here. So from here onwards, we can then proceed with our calculation. So you got 2L plus 2H minus 2H plus W equals to 37.8 minus 20.1. So for this, you will get 2L plus 2L minus W equals to 17.7. Okay, let's utilize the ratio. We know that WL equals to 1 over 2. So 2W equals to L basically. So 2 bracket 2W minus W equals to 17.7. 4W minus W equals to 17.7. 17.7 divided by 3, you will get your W as 5.9 here. So with this 5.9, you can know that your L equals to 2 of 5.9. Okay, then you get 11.8 as your L here. And to get to your H, 2H equals to 20.1 minus our W, which is 5.9. 20.1 minus 5.9, and then divided by 2, your H is actually 7.1. So this is how you trace your L, W, and H value. So it's kind of weird because they utilize your 3D concept, like where is the H linked up, all those details here. Okay. Lastly, we have part B here that they are looking for. The pyramid is made of a wood and has a mass of 800 grams. Calculate the density of the wood. So we already have the mass, and the only thing that we need is to calculate the volume here. Okay, the only thing that we are lacking of is actually the height of this, and they gave us the necessary information. So to get to ED, all you need to do is take square root 24 square minus 18 square will do. That will be your height. So to calculate density, we are keying in. So the density should be 800 grams that was given to us. 1/3 times area of the base. The area of the base is actually 18 times 15. The height of it will be this that I written down, 24 square minus 18 square. Okay, it is actually 6 square root 7. So 800 divided with 1 over 3 times 18 times 15 times 6 square root 7. Which is approximately 0.0 0.56 gram per cm cube. So that's your final answer for this question here. Question 9, they were testing you on reorganizing this thing here. So let's say you extracted x out of them. So you have a balance of x squared minus 4x plus 4. Okay, rekey in everything, then you will get it as 2. So it will be x minus 2 squared. So this will be your final answer for your A here. And they were asking you to plot it out. Okay, so you will have intersection when this make it equals to 0. So you have x equals to 0 as well as x equals to 2. Okay, so your answer is here. And so to make your life easier, there's one more thing that I would do is actually to trace the turning point. Okay, because with the turning point, everything will be easier. Okay, for us to do it. So you get dy dx equals to 3x squared minus the point is 8x plus 4. Okay, try to factorize this. You have 3, you have negative 8, you have 4. So you will get your turning point is actually when it is 2 over 3 as well as 2. So what it means is that you will have a curve somewhere around here. This is the turning point. Going up a little bit, then go down again. So this will be the way that the curve looks like, because this is your turning point. This here will be your turning point. Okay, to make it nicer, I will erase everything and redraw it. Okay, it's much nicer now. So this will be my final answer. So utilize your differentiation concept to identify the turning point so that everything looks much simpler here. Moving on, find the equation of the tangent to the graph, okay, when x equals to 4. So there's actually a formula for it. For tangent, this is fa plus f prime a x minus a. The a here is actually the point that was given to us. The fa means substitute the 4 into the equation given. A lot of AdMath stuff here. So to get your answers, you will get it as 16 basically, if not mistaken. The answer should be 16. And then your f prime will be what I just did earlier. It's actually 3x squared minus 8x plus 4. So this is the differentiation process where you take out the power, multiply with the integers at the front, and then minus the power by 1. So substitute 4 into it. You will get your answers as 20. And then substitute into the equation. You have 16 plus 20x minus 4. Calculate it. You get your balance as 20. Okay, and then negative 4 times 20 plus 16, that will be negative 64. So this is how you get your equation of the tangent here. So this is actually a shortcut formula that we use in additional maths. Lastly, we have our sequence question here. So for sequence A, there's actually not much calculation required because it's just cube of the n terms itself, because 2 to the power of 3 is 8, 3 to the power of 3 is 27, 4 to the power of 3 is 64. So the next one will be 5 to the power of 3, then you get 125. This will be n cube here. As for b, I will write this down. So b is actually a arithmetic sequence where the changes is plus 6. So to get to the next term, just take 23 plus 6, then you get your results. So to identify the n term, you actually need to trace it backwards. Instead of plus 6, you now minus 6, and you get your 0 terms as negative 1. So the correct answer will be 6n minus 1. Okay, so that's how it works. As for next one, c is actually multiplied by 2. So 0.25 multiplied by 2, you get 0.5. 0.5 multiplied by 2, you get 1. 1 multiplied by 2, you get 2. So 2 multiplied by 2, you get 4. So that's the details of it. Okay, but if they're looking for n term, the relationship that you identify doesn't actually means much to you. So 0.25 is actually 1 over 4. 0.5 is actually 1 over 2. Then you have 1, you have 2, and you have 4. So these are when n equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So with this information here, you know that all of them is actually related to 2. So for example, this can be written as 2 to the power of negative 2, then 2 to the power of negative 1, 2 to the power of 0, 2 to the power of 2, and 2 to the power of 1, and 2 to the power of 2. So with this being said, you need to check the relationship of the n and the power here. So with this, I can come up with a conclusion. They are all related to 2. And the n here is actually minus by 3 to get to the results. So that's how you trace your n terms here. And then lastly, we have a d here. Okay, so it's slightly special because it's actually by taking the results of b minus c. So 5 minus 0.25, you get 4.75. So from this, if you take 29 minus by 4, you will get your answers as 25. So with this 25 here, if you were to write down the details, it is actually 6n minus 1, okay, minus 2 to the power of n minus 3. So that's how you write down your final answer. And this will be my final answer. Okay, so overall this question is quite tough. The part that I find challenging will be question 9b, because most of you guys didn't took maths, I suppose. So you wouldn't know the tangent formula here. And the other one will be this. Okay, there's actually a trap in your what we call this transformation question, because they try to play on the gaps here. They try to trick you here. And then the next one will be the vector. Okay, so the hardest type of question from vectors came out, the one that involves scale factor here. Okay, especially your part 2 there to identify the d. Other than this, the part that I find challenging will be in your question 1 here, the upper bound and lower bound question, as well as the C of part question number 2. Okay, so if I were to rate, this is actually the hardest paper from recent years. So if you have the time, please do resit for this paper. Okay, try it out before your actual finals. Okay, so I wish you all the best in your upcoming examination. Thank you. Bye bye.